There are moments in life when something deep within you knows. This is not just another hour, not just another day. This is a sacred window, a turning point that will either pass you by or invite you to step forward in faith. If you're watching this right now, it's not a coincidence. It's not random. You've been guided here because something in your spirit has been stirring. God says your response in the next 12 hours will change everything, not because the hours themselves hold the power, but because your alignment with divine timing is reaching its peak. You are not just floating through this life aimlessly. You've been walking a path, sometimes stumbling, sometimes running, sometimes crawling through the weight of doubt, fear, heartbreak, and waiting. But now, something is shifting. In this sacred space, your decision to believe again, to act, to trust, to let go, to say yes, this is the moment that heaven leans closer to earth. And God is watching how you respond. This isn't about religion or ritual. This is about divine alignment, a moment where the invisible responds to the faith of the believer. We ask you to watch this video until the very end, because within it, something will resonate with your soul. And we invite you to write in the comments your warmest wishes and the number 77. This is a chapter about the fulfillment of deep desires, the release of positive energy, and sending ripples through the universe that awaken dormant dreams. Now, understand this. God's voice isn't always loud. It's not always thunder from the sky or lightning that splits the clouds. More often, it's a whisper inside your heart. It's the nudging you feel that today matters more than yesterday. It's the knowing that if you don't move now, the opportunity will slide quietly back into the shadows. There is something you've been carrying. Maybe a vision, maybe a burden, maybe a question that's been unanswered for too long. And today, in the next 12 hours, your response determines what becomes of it. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to see the entire staircase, but you are being called to take a step. Maybe that step is forgiveness. Maybe it's saying yes when fear says no. Maybe it's letting go of someone who was never meant to stay, or embracing a truth about yourself you've been hiding from. But you know what it is. Deep inside, you've known for a while. What God is asking you to do now is respond. Not later, not when it's easier, but now. This divine window is not about pressure. It's about presence. God is reminding you that His timing is always perfect, but you must be awake to see it. The door is not going to stay open forever, and when it closes, it doesn't slam. It simply disappears. You will look back and realize that something could have shifted if only you had listened, if only you had moved, if only you had believed that your actions in that moment could make a difference. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be obedient. You are being asked to trust. Every breakthrough begins with a decision. Every miracle is activated by a response. Heaven operates on agreement. And when you align with the divine, you don't have to fight for things that belong to you. They come, they flow, they arrive because they've always been yours. It was only your belief, your action, your willingness that was waiting to catch up. Many people miss the moment because they overthink it. They wait for confirmation after confirmation, sign after sign, delaying until the energy of the moment has passed. But not you, not this time. This is your moment. God's instruction is not meant to confuse you. It's meant to free you. There is something specific being asked of you now, and as you respond, the unseen begins to organize itself in your favor. Divine orchestration begins to unfold, aligning people, places, opportunities, and even protection in ways you couldn't plan or predict. You may feel fear. That's normal. Fear is the final resistance before a breakthrough. It always shows up at the door of destiny. But fear is not the voice you answer. You answer the voice that calls you higher, the one that reminds you that you've been through enough to trust. You've walked valleys before, and you've seen light break through. This is not the time to doubt. This is the time to rise, not with noise, not with chaos, but with clarity and quiet confidence that your obedience is enough to move heaven on your behalf. You may be facing a situation that seems impossible, a financial hardship, a broken relationship, a health issue, or a dream that's been delayed so long it feels dead. But let me tell you this: God specializes in the impossible. What looks final to you is not final to Him. The question is not whether He can do it. The question is whether you believe enough to respond in faith. The next 12 hours hold something sacred, not because they are magical in themselves, but because they are charged with potential that you must unlock. This is not the moment to compare yourself to others. This is your unique calling, your unique instruction, your unique window. Comparison will distract you from your assignment. While you're looking left and right, the moment you were meant to respond passes by. Stay focused. Your blessing does not require someone else to fail. Your path is your own. The way God speaks to you may not look like how He speaks to someone else, but the fruit of obedience is always transformation. And yes, your response may be small. It may be a single phone call, a prayer, a step toward a difficult conversation, a commitment to wake up and begin again. But don't underestimate the power of small obedience. The mustard seed becomes a tree. The ripple becomes a wave. Your yes becomes a miracle. You've waited long enough. You've doubted long enough. You've questioned, paused, second-guessed, and hoped without action for long enough. This is your call to respond, not with haste, but with holy urgency. To say, yes, I hear you. I will move. I will trust. The next 12 hours are not just time. They are a threshold. And on the other side of your response, there is something waiting. Not just the answer to a prayer, but the evolution of who you are meant to become. Every moment contains potential. But this one, it's weighted, it's full, it's brimming with destiny, and it's yours if you'll respond. You might be wondering why now? Why this hour? Why this specific moment in time? The truth is, divine timing is rarely understood until after it passes. We often only recognize sacred moments in hindsight. But today, there is a grace over your life that is both gentle and urgent. It's as if heaven is holding its breath, watching, waiting, leaning in to see if you will rise to meet the moment. Not with noise, not with a grand display, but with quiet courage, with trust, with movement. Because the response God is looking for is not about performance. It's about posture. Your posture in this hour matters more than your perfection. Are you willing to bend, to yield, to open yourself to what you can't fully see? That is faith. That is surrender. That is the seed of transformation. Some of the most powerful changes begin when no one else is watching, when you make a decision inside your heart that no one claps for, but heaven celebrates. Too many times, we wait for things outside of us to shift before we believe change is possible. We say, I'll believe when I see the sign, when I feel better, when things are easier, when someone else shows me the way. But that's not how faith works. God is saying now, before the answer comes, before the way is clear, before the storm settles, respond. Move, act, speak, surrender. This is not about reacting to circumstances. It's about responding to a divine invitation. Your spirit has already felt it, hasn't it? That tug, that pull, that knowing. That's not anxiety. That's not pressure. That's God calling you into alignment. You don't need to strive for what's already meant for you, but you do need to move in agreement with it. There is power in your yes, power in your decision, power in what you choose to do in the next 12 hours. This moment will echo forward into your future. Sometimes we misunderstand God's silence as absence. We think He's not moving because we can't see the pieces falling into place. But trust this, God often moves behind the scenes, beyond what your eyes can see and your mind can comprehend. And in the quiet, He watches for your response, not for show, but from the core of who you are. Your response is the signal. It tells the divine you are ready, not just for the blessing, but for the responsibility, not just for the answer, but for the transformation that comes with it. You see, it's not just about receiving something, it's about becoming someone, the version of you that can carry the calling, sustain the promise, walk in purpose, and live in peace. That version is forged in moments like this, when you say yes in faith, when you act despite uncertainty, when you trust even though you feel stretched. This is where you grow. This is where you rise. Your response in this hour is a declaration. It declares who you believe you are. It declares who you believe God is. It speaks louder than your words, louder than your fears, louder than your past. It says, I am not stuck. I am not small. I am not forgotten. I am not late. I am here. I am ready. I am willing. And heaven hears that. Heaven moves on that. Sometimes you have to act before you feel ready. Sometimes the window opens not when you feel strong, but when you feel weakest. Because in that space, God gets the glory. In that space, you can't depend on your own strength. And that's exactly where miracles are born. When it's not your might, but His mercy. Not your strategy, but His sovereignty. What's being asked of you may not make sense to those around you. That's okay. This is your divine moment, not theirs. Protect it. Nurture it. Don't let doubt talk you out of it. Don't let delay cause you to miss it. The world may be loud, but your calling is still. And the stillness is where you hear the voice that matters most. God is not calling you to do something alone. He's calling you to walk with Him, to trust that if He's asked you to move, He's already prepared what's on the other side. Your job is not to know everything. Your job is to obey. And in your obedience, you'll find the peace you've been searching for. You'll find the path unfolding under your feet, one step at a time. Let go of needing to have it all figured out. Let go of the pressure to have all the answers. That's not your role. Your role is to respond. That's where the power is. That's where the miracle begins. This is your moment. You've waited, you've grown, you've healed, you've fought through things that could have taken you out. And yet, here you are, still standing, still believing, still listening. That alone is proof that you're ready. The next 12 hours are not random. There's a reason this message found you now. A reason your heart is beating a little faster. A reason you can't ignore the stirring. Because God is closer than you think. Because the atmosphere is pregnant with possibility. Because your faith has reached a tipping point. Because your readiness has activated a shift. You don't need to understand the how. You just need to honor the who is calling you, who is with you, who has never left you, and who is already ahead of you, making a way. This is not about hype. This is about holiness. This is about recognizing the divine moment and responding with the fullness of who you are. Don't rush past this. Don't dismiss it. The next 12 hours are a sacred pause, a chance to change direction, to release what no longer serves you, to step into who you were born to be. And it all starts with one thing: your response. You may feel the weight of this moment without fully understanding it. That's normal. When the spirit is awakened to a divine shift, it doesn't always come with clarity, it comes with urgency, a sacred discomfort, a trembling deep within that tells you something is happening. You don't need to rush to define it. You only need to honor it. Right now, something is breaking loose in the atmosphere around you. Not in a loud or chaotic way, but in the stillness, in the whisper, in the sacred silence where heaven touches your reality. This is not the time to distract yourself. This is not the time to numb out or push away what you feel rising. The next 12 hours are like a bridge. On one side, the life you've known. On the other, the life waiting for you. Your response is what builds that bridge, and whether you cross it or not is entirely up to you. So many people live their entire lives waiting for the right time, the perfect sign, the undeniable signal from God that tells them to act. But the most powerful moves of God often come when He asks you to trust before you see, when He invites you to move while the waters are still rough, when He prompts you to prepare for something that hasn't yet arrived. And that's where you are right now, in a moment that looks ordinary but carries extraordinary power. It's easy to miss. It's easy to overlook. That's why spiritual sensitivity matters. That's why stillness matters. Because only when you quiet the noise of the world can you hear the sound of purpose calling your name. This isn't about achieving. It's about aligning. God is not asking you to build a monument. He's asking you to respond, to be present, to be willing, to stop running, to stop explaining away the calling that has been nudging you for years. You've known for a long time that there was more to who you are, more to what you're meant to do, more to the way you were created to live. This is not the season to shrink. This is not the time to say, maybe later, because later may never look like this moment again. The alignment, the clarity, the breakthrough waiting for you, it's tied to what you choose to do now. Yes, it's heavy, but it's also holy. And if you step into it with an open heart, God will carry the weight with you. He's not setting you up to fail. He's setting you free. You've tried doing things your way. You've tried waiting for ideal circumstances. But nothing satisfies like divine obedience. Nothing compares to the peace that follows when you know you've responded, not out of pressure, but from purpose. And you'll feel it. You'll feel the shift. You'll feel the peace. You'll feel the momentum that was blocked finally begin to move again. Because your response unlocks movement, not just in the physical, but in the spiritual. Things that were stagnant begin to flow. Doors that were shut begin to open. Patterns that repeated for years begin to break. And not because you forced it, but because you aligned with what heaven was already prepared to release. Every delay you've experienced, every frustration, every season where it seemed like nothing was happening, it was all preparing you for this threshold. You needed to be softened. You needed to be strengthened. You needed to be emptied of things that were never meant to come with you into this next chapter. And now, after all the waiting, the stretching, the breaking and healing, you are ready. Not perfect, but ready. Not certain, but willing. And that's all God needs to do, what only He can do. He's not waiting for perfection. He's waiting for permission. Your permission. Your response. Your yes. That is the key. That is what changes everything. Sometimes your response won't be visible to others. Sometimes it will be an inner commitment, a decision to no longer walk in fear, a vow to honor your calling no matter the cost. Sometimes it will be a letting go, a releasing of the thing that has held your heart hostage. The relationship, the fear, the disappointment, the control, the lie that told you it's too late or that you're not enough. You are enough. You've always been enough. But now, you're being asked to live like you believe that. You're being asked to walk like someone who is loved, chosen, covered, and called. You're being asked to stop waiting for someone else to rescue you and to recognize that God already has. And now, it's your turn to move. This response won't always feel dramatic. Sometimes, it's the simplest act of trust that carries the greatest spiritual impact. A prayer whispered with sincerity, a step taken in silence, a commitment made in the solitude of your heart. Heaven doesn't measure the size of your action. It measures the sincerity of your surrender. You don't have to announce it to the world, but you must declare it within yourself, that today is the day, that now is the time, that you will no longer wait for perfect peace before you move. You will move and let peace meet you on the way, because peace doesn't always precede action. Sometimes peace follows obedience. This is your moment. You can feel it, not because everything is easy, but because everything is aligned. The timing, the message, the prompting in your spirit. It's not just a coincidence, it's a calling, a reminder that your life is not random, that your journey is not without purpose, that your obedience today will echo into eternity. You may never fully understand why this particular moment matters so much, but one day you'll look back and realize that was the hour it changed. That was the hour you said yes. That was the hour the fear lost its grip. That was the hour the dream started to breathe again. That was the hour the chains began to fall. All because you responded. You chose to trust. You chose to move. You chose to believe again. And heaven responded in kind. There is a divine sensitivity required to respond well in moments like these. You may feel it like a whisper pressing against your chest, a knowing that doesn't come from logic, but from spirit. And that's the thing about divine timing. It bypasses intellect and goes straight to the soul. You may not have the words for it, but you feel it. Something is about to shift, but not just around you, within you. This is more than an external change. This is the kind of shift that rewrites who you believe yourself to be. When you respond in alignment with what God is asking, you no longer just hope for transformation. You become the transformation. You move differently. You see differently. Your perspective expands. Your spirit lifts. You begin to operate not from survival, but from surrender. Not from scarcity, but from sacred confidence. So many people wait their whole lives for someone else to validate them, to tell them when it's time, to give them permission. But in this moment, God is telling you directly, this is your time. Not next month, not next year, not when the conditions look ideal. This is the hour where your spirit says yes, even while your circumstances still say no. That's the faith that moves mountains. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. The waiting season wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You were being fortified, not to return to who you were, but to evolve into who you've always been called to become. And this calling, it doesn't need your credentials. It needs your courage. It needs your response. There is something powerful that happens when you no longer delay obedience. When you don't wait to feel qualified, but simply say, God, if you're asking me to move, I will. And in that moment, things begin to shift. It might not be dramatic or visible, but in the unseen, something breaks loose. The chains of limitation, of fear, of generational patterns that once held you begin to dissolve because you finally agreed to walk in alignment with the divine. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to minimize your calling or water down your desires. You don't have to explain away your dreams to make others comfortable. This moment isn't asking you to shrink, it's asking you to rise. And rising starts with a response. A simple, pure decision to say yes, to say, I will no longer betray who I am becoming just to feel safe in who I've been. And yes, it may feel like you're leaving something behind. That's part of the process. Growth always involves letting go. But what you release now, fear, doubt, smallness, delay, will be nothing compared to what you gain on the other side of obedience. The peace that comes, the clarity, the divine flow, it's real, and it's waiting for you. You have to understand that the energy of this moment won't last forever. Just as the sun moves through the sky, the grace for this shift is passing through your life now. This is your window. The longer you hesitate, the harder it becomes to step into it with clarity. The momentum is here. The alignment is here. What's missing is your move. It's not too late. No matter what your past looks like, no matter how many false starts, no matter how broken the road has been, this is not the end of your story. This is a new page, a new breath, a divine reset. And all of it hinges on your response. You don't need to chase anything. You need only to respond and receive what's already been prepared for you. This moment will test your faith. It may require you to release control, to step into a space where you don't have all the answers. But that's where the power lies. God doesn't need your certainty, He needs your surrender. The response He's waiting for is not built on confidence in yourself. It's built on trust in Him. So ask yourself, what is God asking of me right now? What do I know in my heart I need to act on, even if no one else understands? What decision, what shift, what bold but quiet move is required of me in this sacred hour? You know the answer. It's been with you all along. Maybe you've tried to bury it beneath logic or drown it in distraction, but it keeps resurfacing. It keeps calling to you in the quiet. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know it's divine. And now is your chance to respond. To stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what if this changes everything? Because it will. Your response doesn't just alter the direction of your life, it alters the condition of your soul. It frees you. It unburdens you from the lie that you have to wait, or that you're unworthy, or that you missed your moment. You haven't missed anything. You're right on time for what's meant for you. But the clock is ticking on this moment. Not to create fear, but to create focus. Heaven is calling for your attention, your awareness, your faith. The next 12 hours are not a countdown of pressure, but of purpose. They are a divine invitation to step out of your history and into your destiny. The world around you may not shift instantly, but your inner world will. And when that happens, when you respond in faith, in trust, in surrender, everything begins to recalibrate. What you attract changes, what you tolerate changes, what you expect changes, and most of all, who you are changes. So, don't underestimate the sacred weight of this hour. Don't talk yourself out of obedience. Don't explain away the pull in your spirit. This is your time. The door is open. The wind is shifting. And all of heaven is waiting to see your response. Some decisions are visible. Others are quiet. Internal shifts that the world may never see, but heaven does. And this right now is one of those sacred decisions. This is a heart posture moment. a soul alignment, a conversation between you and the divine that bypasses all the noise of life and goes straight to the truth of who you are. You were not created to drift. You were not born to live your life in a fog of confusion, constantly wondering if your life holds meaning. You were designed with precision. The very core of who you are has a blueprint stamped by the divine. And moments like this are meant to reconnect you to that design, to shake off the dust of delay and awaken the divine memory in you that remembers why you came here, what you carry, who you are. The voice you've been hearing inside, the one gently pulling you toward more, isn't your imagination. It's not wishful thinking. It's not a passing feeling. It's the sacred voice of destiny calling you forward. And for too long, you've hesitated. You've waited for external confirmation for something that has already been confirmed within. But now, the time for delay has passed. Now is the time to move. Not perfectly, not fully knowing where the road will lead, but courageously. There is a clarity that only comes when you respond, when you act in faith, even with trembling hands, when you choose obedience over comfort. That's when vision expands. That's when insight multiplies. God does not reveal the entire staircase. He asks you to take the first step. The next step will appear only after you've made the move that proves you trust His voice more than your own understanding. So, what does your response look like today? Maybe it's making the call, writing the message, closing the door to something that no longer aligns, starting the process you've delayed, stepping back into the space where you gave up too soon. Maybe it's simply saying out loud, "I'm ready." You don't have to know everything. You just need to mean it. The divine responds to truth, to sincerity, to action rooted in love and trust. And when you move in that posture, you'll begin to feel something new rise inside of you. Not the old fear, not the old hesitation, but a strength that feels foreign, yet familiar. That's your true self emerging. That's the version of you that's been waiting to lead. And here's the thing. You don't need to announce this shift to anyone. This isn't about proving anything. It's about alignment. The deepest shifts often begin in silence, and they grow in the dark before they bloom in the light. What you do in the next 12 hours might not look grand. It might not look different to anyone else. But it will change everything, because it will shift you from hesitation into agreement, from waiting into becoming. There's a sacred power in agreement. When your soul agrees with your spirit and your spirit agrees with God, that's when doors open. That's when chains break. That's when the old you begins to shed and the true you steps forward. And that version of you, the one aligned with heaven, is who the world has been waiting to see. No more hiding. No more wondering if you're worthy. No more pretending that you don't hear the call. You do hear it. You've heard it for a long time. And now the question isn't whether it's real. The question is whether you'll respond. And the beautiful truth? You can. You absolutely can. Everything you need is already inside of you. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to wait until you're more spiritual or more together. God isn't calling your future, perfected self. He's calling you right now, as you are, in your mess, in your questions, in your uncertainty, because He knows what's on the other side of your yes. And it's beautiful. You may not feel ready, but that's okay. Obedience rarely comes with a surge of confidence. More often, it begins with trembling, with humility, with the quiet recognition that your life was never meant to be lived on your own terms. It was meant to be lived in rhythm with the divine. That's what the next 12 hours are about. Not rushing, not performing, but realigning, returning to your center, remembering who you are and who you belong to. This is your sacred window to agree with what heaven has already said about you. You are chosen. You are able. You are equipped. You are called. You may look around and see limitations, but God sees potential. You may see a history of mistakes. God sees a future of purpose. And He's not asking you to prove anything. He's asking you to respond, to open the door that you've been standing in front of for too long. The key is already in your hand. The permission has already been given. The time is now. So breathe, settle yourself, be still, and know that this is real, that something is stirring because it's meant to. That what you're feeling is not a false alarm. It's a divine alarm clock, waking you up to the truth that's always been inside of you. You are more than what you've settled for. You are capable of more than what you've imagined. You are right on time for the life that's been waiting for your yes. And when you respond, fully, sincerely, with your heart wide open, you won't have to chase what's meant for you. It will begin to move toward you. The clarity, the confirmation, the resources, the relationships, the rest, it's all connected to this sacred shift, to this act of obedience, to this one decision, to respond. So ask yourself, not out of fear, but out of faith, what if the next 12 hours really do change everything? Because they can. And if you respond, they will. This is the final stretch, the quiet moment before everything changes. You've felt the stirring. You've heard the call. You've recognized that something deep inside is no longer willing to live in delay. And now, you're here, on the edge of response. The question is no longer whether change is coming. It's whether you're willing to be part of it. There's no pressure in this moment, only presence. A deep awareness that you are standing in a space of divine possibility. A space where time and spirit intersect. Where your willingness becomes the catalyst for transformation. And that is what God is waiting for. Not perfection, not performance, but your presence and your participation. You don't have to earn this moment. You don't have to fight for it. You just have to say yes to it. A true, full-hearted yes. A yes that doesn't rely on ideal circumstances. A yes that dares to stand in trust. A yes that says, I don't know how this will unfold, but I know I'm not turning away from it anymore. Because deep down, you already know this. The pain of staying the same is greater than the fear of changing. The ache of ignoring your purpose has grown louder than your need for safety. You're not here by accident. You were brought to this very moment to hear what your soul already knows. Your response right now is holy, it is sacred, and it will alter everything that comes next. So take a moment, breathe, let go of the urgency that the world puts on decisions, and instead, step into the sacred stillness of this one. This isn't about fixing everything in your life. It's about aligning one part of your heart with the truth you've been running from. That you are ready to begin again. That you are ready to respond differently. That you are willing to move, even if the path ahead is uncertain. And as you respond, watch what begins to unfold. Your thoughts shift, your emotions stabilize, your energy lifts. You no longer feel like a bystander in your own life. You begin to feel aligned, present, empowered. Even if nothing outside has changed yet, you will know something inside has, because the deepest breakthroughs don't come through outer victory. They come when your spirit breaks open to the truth, and you can no longer live beneath it. This is more than motivation. This is a turning point. This is that hidden moment in your story where the old chapter fades quietly And the new one begins without applause, but with fire, with direction, with divine grace pushing you gently but firmly into the next level of your becoming. And the beauty of it all is this: you don't have to do it alone. As soon as you respond with a sincere yes, all of heaven responds in kind. Doors begin to open, paths begin to clear, people begin to show up. Not because you manipulated the moment, but because you aligned with what was already waiting. Your obedience activates momentum. Your surrender sets miracles in motion. Don't overthink it. Don't try to control how it plays out. That's not your job anymore. Your job is simply to trust, to move, and to remain open. This is a divine collaboration, not a solo performance. God never asks you to carry what He hasn't already strengthened you for. And right now, He's not just calling you, He's empowering you. You may feel fear. That's okay. Fear isn't a sign that you're off track. It's a sign that you're on the edge of something important, something that matters. But remember, fear only grows where faith has been ignored. And today, you've chosen to listen to faith, to listen to truth, to respond. You'll look back on this day, this hour, this moment, not as the end of something, but as the beginning of deeper clarity, of divine connection, of spiritual flow, of internal freedom. All because you didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. You moved because your spirit was ready. So as these final moments settle into your heart, let yourself feel the shift. Let the peace wash over you. Let the old expectations, the delays, the questions dissolve, and let something new rise. Courage, clarity, confidence, obedience, surrender. You've made your decision. You've said yes. And now, let heaven respond. And if this message has awakened something inside you, if you felt even a small pull, a flicker of fire, a quiet certainty, honor that. Act on it. Protect it. Let it grow. Because it's real, it's sacred, and it belongs to you. You don't need a crowd to witness your transformation. Your Creator sees it. And that's enough. If this message resonated with you, we invite you to write your warmest wish in the comments. Just one. Speak it into the world. Let it be known. And beside it, write the number 77, a number of completion, alignment, and divine flow. A number that says, I've responded. I've received. I am ready. Stay with this energy. Stay with the alignment. The next 12 hours matter, and they will not pass in vain. Your response has already begun to change everything.